So, hello there from the education team, and another excellent year. Pretty well fully booked every Wednesday with schools throughout the academic year, and it's looking good for next year as well. But the big change of this year has been that we've now got our new member of staff, our new Jane, who's joined us primarily to look after the admin of the education team, and particularly to look at expanding the great stuff that our expanding team does on a Wednesday to other days of the week. So, quick hello from Jane.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
And really, that's it. We're looking at expanding, doing more of what we've done so successfully for so many years. And as well as that, we're looking at expanding the premises, looking at refurbishing things. You can see behind us, we've got the old posters out from the underpass. We've looked at painting the carriages. We've even looked at building a new shelter, which you can probably see in the background there. So all in all, a busy year from the education team, and all in safe new hands. That finally we got some competence admin, which isn't me coming back from the pub and hitting the wrong keys on the keyboard. So thanks to Jane, thanks to you guys for all the support we get throughout the year.
So education's been going really well. Over the summer we took on some extra projects. We had the Railway Children Club, which was an incentive to try and entice children to come back more than just once. It perhaps wasn't as successful as we wanted, but it's given me lots of ideas of how we're going to roll it out again next year. We also had the Railway Children production. That was very, very good. We had local children performing in it, and they were all absolutely amazing. It was a really, really positive experience. Loads of people came to visit, loads of people came to watch it, and yeah, it was just really good. As Rod said, bookings so far for this year from the educational point of view, our Wednesdays are booked up until Christmas already. I am trying to look at pushing out on other days, and we'll see kind of how that goes, but at the moment not much uptake for it because people would like the steam train ride, so we need to try and work on that a little bit. But with the Heritage Lottery Fund that we've got as well, we'll be working with the Activity Commission team, and so they will hopefully come up with some extra ideas to how we can push and how we can promote on other days of the week.
Great. So finally, thanks to all our team on the education team, and if you fancy joining us, we're always here every Wednesday with a cup of tea, and if you're lucky, maybe in the bacon sandwich. All the best. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I'm Lee Drew, Locomotive Manager, standing by 4079, which, as some of you remember, last year we just failed due to an issue that we thought we had within the boiler. We resolved the issue. We've run it at Didcot for a year, satisfactorily. Its next test is it's going to Chinner for their gala, so we'll see how it performs there. I'm not expecting any issues. Throughout the year, it's had a complete repaint, and to meet Flying Scotsman, it was paired with 5322's tender, with its own tender just being finished as we speak. Now with 4144, which is literally just returned from its hire period at the Neem Valley Railway. This engine has proven to be one of our most profitable, it is our most profitable engine. So as it's just entering its last year of service, we'll have to start discussing its overhaul pretty soon. So 1466 finally returned to us this year. It currently has an ongoing discussion between the insurance company and contractors, which are working to resolve, which is what prevented it from its appearance at our gala at the beginning of September. Since its return, the team here have been focusing on the snagging list, which has been reasonably extensive, but not too bad. We've had to redo the injectors and rebuild the brake valve, finish off bits of cladding, etc., etc. Once this is complete, we're hoping it will enter service without any future troubles. So here we are by 1363. Work this year has mostly been focused on the brakes, the brake rigging, the steam brake assembly, the cab floor. We've recently acquired this bell because we have a photo of it at Weymouth with a bell, which is positioned just here at the front of the cab side. Pete is currently working out how that all went together. We also have photos of it with a copper cap chimney, which we have reinstated. So the team this year on 3650 have been focusing on the new boiler plate. We've got the back plate and the throat plate. Kevin's also been getting on with the axle boxes and the horns. as well as rod bearings.
Okay, Phil Webb, part of the 10-14 county team. This is a little bit of a progress update. We're currently in the process of deciding or fixing the schedule for when the boiler goes away, working out what work we'll get complete before it goes away to minimise work when it comes back. We're anticipating the boiler would be away for something like 12 months. Maybe a little bit longer. That allows us time to work on the bottom end and the tender, but very much the focus at present is doing all the work around the boiler. So that's taken quite a bit of time, and it's always something that comes up. So the current topic is trying to fit safety valve in and making sure that that fits appropriately. So constant learning process. As ever, we're always looking for more help, more volunteers and such like. So yeah, whoever's watching this, if you want to have some spare time, please come along. Engineering skills, yes, but just hands is useful as well. So that about summarises where we're at. As I understand correctly, funding's pretty reasonable, pretty healthy. Various things are on order, and we're always dependent upon some of the suppliers in terms of things like we're currently waiting for the brake valve. Hopefully that's imminently going to appear, quite a critical piece for the back head, so we can run the pipe work. And again, there's various others which are helping with bits and pieces, fittings, all critical around the boiler. So that probably about summarises where we're at present. And yeah, looking forward to maybe a couple of years' time being optimistic, but yeah, might be steaming. So yeah, that's the current status.
So just standing by 7202's boiler. Work on this recently has been, or more recently, has been fitting of the stays and the welding up of the throat plate, which I believe was manufactured last year, but is now actually fixed and in place. We've got the rest of the stays on order. The rest of the plate, which I'm currently standing on, is also all here ready to go. So hopefully we'll move forward again in the next 12 months. So just standing by Pendennis Castle's 4,000 gallon tender, which is currently having its repaint. It's going to have the great Garter Crest Western livery. I'd just like to say a big thank you to Harry Jones and Adam Meredith for their efforts on painting this year. They've got several projects done, including 5322, which is up there, 1466, and the castle's repaint, all on quite stringent time scales. And they've really pulled it out for us.
We have had several events in 2025. We had the visit of Flying Scotsman, a gala featuring 1450 and South Eastern and Chatham Railway number 65 from the Bluebell, and the launch of 1466. All of these events passed successfully and were well received. We had a couple of filmings at the tail end of last year, but since then it's been very quiet on that front. We also were used for the storage of some Great Western trains over Christmas period. Although the infrastructure is still installed for those, we're not sure yet whether they're going to make a return visit. Society staffing. Full-time operations manager Andrew Vaughan has left the society paid staff, but he's still carrying on as a volunteer. Roger Orchard has kindly offered his service in the interim while we decide what the replacement for Andrew should be. The title of operations manager has now returned back to the volunteer side of train operations, and he will just act as the chair of the operations committee and its staff. Harry Jones has rejoined the society staff in a part-time capacity as a rolling stock painter, which will mostly be locomotives. He's already done an awful lot of sterling work on repainting the running engines, but we will now be moving on to the important conservation work of our static fleet to improve the look of some of the engines, which means over a period of time we will see engines in a different livery, but will endeavour to maintain a good cross range of colours of GWR and BR. Operational staffing. This year we seem to have had days where we're fully staffed and days where hardly anyone has come forward. Although we have only had to cancel a couple of turns, we have still managed a train service on all the arranged days, albeit not with always, due to staff availability, a steam engine. We've had to do substitutions. Diesel 9516 is still awaiting repair due to an oil pressure problem, which has meant we've had to use 31270 more with 08604 filling them when we did not have a Pass 31 driver available. Also, Railcar 22 has done many more turns this year, which is good as it's seen as a worthy replacement by the public if we choose not to offer a steam engine on the branch. Once again, it's been down to a small dedicated bunch of staff who have filled the gaps week in, week out to keep the train service running. Without naming names, I salute you who have all stepped up to keep this running. Once again, the Society has been busy on loco hire outs. 2999 Lady of Legend has spent the whole summer at the West Somerset Railway and has now moved to the Bluebell Railway for a Legends of Steam event which is coming up in October. 4144 has been to the Nene Valley since Easter. It was due to make an appearance at the Swindon and Cricklade Railway, but they have now decided not to operate steam for a period of time. As I think probably Lee will say elsewhere, the 41's ticket is nearly up next year, so it will probably be running on site, but it must be commented on what a marvellous earner it has been for us over the years. 4079 Pendennis Castle has remained on site as the site engine this year, but is due to take a quick visit to the Chinner and Princess Risborough for an event in October. And finally, King George, who went back to Fawley Hill for a second visit, moving on then to the MC and Bolton Abbey Railway, and is currently residing at the Ribble Railway to help them run their Christmas services. The use of the West Yard. We used to have wagon movements on a regular basis 7 days a week. DB in their infinite wisdom have decided to start doing wagon maintenance in Didcot, which has restricted our use of the siding from Friday just to Fridays and Saturdays. This is obviously having a serious impact on us bringing materials in because we're now having to offload everything onto the ground and load it over a weekend. Although we're managing to survive, it could present problems in the future.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Tomset. I'm the Society's Infrastructure Manager, and over the next couple of minutes let's go and have a little walk around the site and see what we've achieved this year and what we're hoping to do next year. As you can see behind me, the Hayford lot and their resident stonemason has done a brilliant job getting the building to go skywards again, and hopefully by this time next year it might even be at the height of the eaves and really start to look great again. In between working on the station and its associated infrastructure, the team have also undertaken the long outstanding task of recreating the Castle Carry urinal, which is going to be a great addition for all the crews, including the visitors down this end of site, as you won't have a half-mile walk to go to the loo anymore. One of the unseen tasks being undertaken at the moment around the site is being done by our in-house electrical team, who are doing a superb job replacing all of the outdated electrics around the carriage shed. The only visible bit of the work you can see is this lovely made cupboard behind me, but they're basically replacing the entire wiring loom in the shed and all the distribution boards to keep everything working and safe for the next 50 years. As you can see behind me, the centre part of site and around the carriage shed all looks a little bit different now, as this year's winter track renewal was the total replacement and realignment of the UP, which thankfully I can say went well, and the line was open again in time for Easter, so we didn't affect the operating season too much. It took a little bit longer to tidy up than anticipated, but thanks for all the help from everyone and all the patience with making the site look presentable again. It was all greatly appreciated, and the end result really shows the sort of quality that we strive for whenever we set out to undertake a project like this. One of the reasons the UP was realigned this year was to allow for a lot of new building work to be undertaken around the site. The crane siding, which is the line I'm standing on here, has been moved over nearly 8 foot in places to allow for a new building in centre sidings to be built called the Delivering the Goods, which I'm sure you'll hear more about in the Trust's report. But it's one of the larger building infrastructure projects we're hoping to undertake next year, and will use quite a lot of the Society's resources and time. Well, next year the Society is going to mainly be focusing on the engine shed roof and the Delivering the Goods building, which is obviously going to seriously restrict what we can actually do in-house, because both of those projects need so many materials brought in from the West Yard that we just don't have the capacity to do too much. So hopefully what we're going to be doing is catching up on the long list of maintenance tasks that have been put on the back burner to allow for these bigger projects to be done. The main one being we're going to repair and enhance the main site path, because as you can hopefully see, it's not in the best state these days, as well as tidying up some of the paved paths and enhancing some of the other walking routes around the centre to bring them up to modern accessibility requirements, which is becoming ever more crucial now we've got the ramp. One of the big challenges about enhancing the path network around the site was what to do with this section, as it's the main route into site and it's just too narrow. There's no way we could make the path any wider or any better on its current alignment without seriously affecting the site or the operation. So what we've decided to do is dig it up and replace it. And instead of putting it back here where it will carry on being narrow, we're going to move it to behind my cameraman. And what we're planning on doing is a nice new path at 2 meters wide, which is the accessibility required width. It will come straight down the side of the Coal Stage Road. It will cross over just in front of us, and then it will go down the side of the Ash Road and cut across just in front of the pit, where it can rejoin onto the existing site path, which can be brought up in line with modern standards. Hopefully this work will be undertaken next month and should be done in time for the Christmas season. So hopefully even before the new year we'll have made good headway on bringing the site up to standard. So all that's left to do is say thank you to all of the staff and volunteers who have given thousands of hours throughout the year in all sorts of horrendous weathers, whether it be freezing cold showers in the middle of January to boiling hot sunny days in the middle of the summer. We couldn't do what we do without you, and it's all greatly appreciated.
Hello, it's Mark Worrell here, and the carriage and wagon report for the AGM. We're stood, as you can see, inside 1289 to show the progress with the interior refurbishment of this coach. We are now in the last quarter to do, which should mean once this is done, hopefully by the end of this year, we won't have much left to do on the interior, and it's just the exterior left to sort out. Hopefully won't need too much doing, as it had a full repaint about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And then once we've done the exterior repaint, it should be back in traffic, hopefully sometime next year. We'll just have to see how it goes with the exterior and how the weather does over the winter, see how that affects what we can do with the painting. So. Okay, this is 1184. We're slowly progressing this coach. We've not done too much on it this year, unfortunately. Too many other things of more important vehicles in the collection to try and finish off, particularly 1289 as we've seen just now. There's not a huge amount left to do on the tin on the exterior now. We've got one panel left to do, and then the door skins to do, and that's the sides both done. We've started on the middle section of the roof, which is a bit more complicated because it involves riveting it together as per the original process of the roofs being constructed. Hopefully next year we'll progress this a lot more. I'm hoping next year to get the roof done and finish all the exterior tin work on it. We have the new tin for the ends of this vehicle in stock, so hopefully with 1289 out of the way and a couple of others next year, we should be able to progress this a lot further. Here we are now in the paint shop. We have 416 here, the Dean four-wheeler brake third, which is in for a repaint. It doesn't need too much else doing to it, fortunately, because it had a major restoration a few years ago now, but it's in pretty good nick. Just the exterior that needed repainting, really, refreshing and making look new again. The main idea was also that because 290, as you can see behind me, is coming for its final paint job as well, was to outshot the two roughly at the same time, so they both look very similar, to hopefully help start creating a set of four-wheelers in our for running on site. 290, as you can see behind me, we are almost in a position where the second class compartments should be finished. The upholstery went away to the upholsterers about 2 weeks ago now. Hopefully should be back by the end of October. Should mean, with a bit of luck, the second class compartments will be finished by that point. And the first class compartments, we've been working on the ceilings, progressing those up before we then start looking at the new seat frames and the panel work for the interior of that. Most of the exterior work, I must say, has been done by John Plant. Most of the painting, he's been doing that as a volunteer whenever he's been free. And he's, I feel, produced a very good job. Here we are in the Bogey Barn, where Tim Jenkins, who's now started as a full-time employee, who will be known to some of you as a volunteer on site for a number of years now, has started the restoration work on the Dreadnought's bogies. This is the first bogey we're tackling up in the air since he started the 1st of September. He's stripped it all down, needle gunned most of the framework up, stripped it back ready for painting. As you can see here, we've found that a good section of the framework is wasted completely away to nothing, so that's going to be replaced with new to make it sound and strong. Interestingly, the other bogey has exactly the same problem in exactly the same place, which after a little bit of thinking we've realised is probably evidence of where the downpipe from the toilets came out and what it does to steelwork over time. This bogey, we should hopefully, the rate Tim's going and the work we've got to do with a lot of rebushing on the brake gear and spring hanger gear, which is hanging around on the benches next to us, which he's working on. We should hopefully have this bogey done by the end of the year and then crack on with the next one as well. Once we've done one, we sort of know what's coming with the second one, which does make it a little easier to plan ahead, make sure we've got all the bushes and everything all ready to go for the second one straight away. So hopefully the second one wouldn't take quite so long. But yes, there's a lot of work going to go into these bogies. There's a lot of rot in places on framework. One set of horns is well beyond tolerances, so they're going to have to come off and be machined up and repaired as well. And a lot of the bushes are very oval in shape. In fact, there's one of them. In fact, I can even show you one of the bushes we pushed out yesterday from the, that's part of the bolster assembly that it hangs off of, how oval the bushes are and how worn they are. So it's going to be a lot of new bushes and new pins for this bogey and its brake gear. This is where the set of horns that need machining have come off, and there's also evidence, we've found it on the body, also evidence on this bogey, and we suspect we'll probably find it on the other bogey as well, that this coach has been involved in an accident at some point in time, because the actual main frames of the bogies have got these two great big gouges in them where the axle box, we believe, has come up and walloped the frame. And it's interesting that all four axle boxes have got the same markings above. So yeah, more evidence that this coach has definitely been involved, had a life, shall we say. Right, this is the other project that's in the Bogey Barn at the moment. This is a volunteer wagon bash team, as we call it, on a Saturday. They meet once a month on a Saturday. This is the tar tank wagon, which used to be out the back of the one road here. It's going to need a whole new wooden chassis, because the wooden chassis is completely rotten out, which we've now got the timber in stock for. We're actually going to use glulam beam, a modern material, but the pricing of it was a lot less than having to go down softwood the right size, or even hardwood the right size. And this process hopefully should be last just as long. The manufacturers have given us a guarantee that it should last at least 25, 30 years minimum, if not longer, if we look after it. But the pricing was a lot cheaper, which made it a project that was affordable, that we could really do. As you can see, the tank is at the moment upside down because the floor resembled somewhat of a colander. It was so full of holes that we've had to chop the floor out. So it will have a new floor. It's having new angle iron all the way around as well at the bottom. So it's quite a big project for a volunteer team to take on, but we're progressing quite well, I feel. Another year, at the rate we're going, I reckon it should be fairly there. Here we are in the woodwork shop, stood in front of the new panel saw that was paid for by the 231 Club. Very, very welcome, that money that comes from the 231 Club, and I would suggest anyone who's not a member, please join it. It's very useful for the C&W department to help pay for big one-off payments like this machine. It's £10,000 this cost us to buy, but it's so useful for cutting material, plywood, for the exterior of the Dreadnought and many other projects and coaches over the years in the future. Very useful. The other thing in the machine shop that we're really trying to keep on top of these days is with Tim Nichols, who started back in April full-time, trained as a woodworker, is looking after the machine shop. It's part of his responsibilities to help keep it clean and tidy and keep it up to scratch for Monday health and safety, make it presentable. Here we are in front of the Dreadnought coach itself. As you can see, our new woodworker Tim Nichols has been progressing a lot of new framework for this coach. There's quite a lot of framework's going to need doing, as we've always sort of surmised or guessed. You can see he's put new longitudinals in all the way down this side. Bottom, he's now working on this rail all the way through, which will be replaced all the way through. It's pretty rotten, particularly underneath where the opening windows were. It's always the worst spot on these coaches, or on coaches generally, actually. We're hopeful that, the rate he's going and the progress we're making should have, what we now end of September, so by the end of this year, I'm hoping we should have all the framework repaired from this middle rail down, the bottom side repaired. We might even get the panel work on the bottom half. Just see how the weather treats us and time and other commitments when they get in the way. But hopefully, yes, we should progress the exterior framework on this quite well over the next 3 months. Tim's been doing a sterling service at working through all this lot with my assistants when I'm free to help him. Okay, now we're on the interior of the Dreadnought, which is slowly progressing as well. As you can see, Mick's been doing the scumble on the top half of the, above the seats and picture frames that all go down here. And then we started putting the panel and the ceilings up in the compartments as well that go above that. So hopefully the interior, this half of the coach, the interior should move forward quite a bit next year. We've already done the corridor out there, is pretty much up to first coat of paint ready for scumbling and everything. So yeah, hopefully this half of the interior of this half of the coach should move forward quite a lot next year, particularly once we've got the external framework on this side finished off, which, as you can see, Tim's working away at. So once this frame's done, we can really progress the interior at this end quite quickly, I'm hoping, because that side, the exterior is already done and the framework. So then it'll just be the other half to do, so to speak. About the last thing really to talk about or update people on is the new platform that was put in the Vintage Bay back in April. This was actually Tim Nichols' first job as a paid employee. This was the first thing he did, was build this. Took him about 3 weeks to do. We all think it's a big improvement over what was there. It was what was there was starting to get quite rickety and creaky, and we were starting to get a bit worried about it. What would happen if it fell down or something? So the platform's actually based loosely on the platforms that were at Swindon Carriage and Wagon Works and how they looked. Tried to base it on something prototypical. I'd just like to thank all the volunteers for their sterling efforts this year in helping to progress all the projects we have on the go. I'd also like to say, if anybody else out there would like to help volunteer in the department, please let me know. I'd like to build a team around Tim Jenkins to help with the bottom end overhaul work and the engineering side of things. He's normally here midweek and sometimes at the weekends as well, so I should be able to help build a team around him with a bit of luck. And if you don't feel you can help physically, then any financial donations to any of the restricted funds or joining 231 Club would be most appreciated. The money that club generates for the department on a regular basis is most appreciated, very useful. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Steve Cooper, Deputy Chairman of the Great Western Trust. which was established in 1984 and holds a unique and nationally significant collection devoted to the social and economic impact of the Great Western Railway and its successor, British Railways Western Region. The 7 trustees are all volunteers and come from various walks of life. We are a separate entity, but work closely with the Great Western Society to enhance Didcot Railway Centre. We have specific responsibilities for many thousands of diverse items of the Great Western, including publicity material, china, glass, silverware, staff recreational records, road vehicles, photographs and plans. In other words, all the assets of the old company that did not run on rails. The highlight of the year has been the unveiling of this wonderful mosaic floor panel. It's a magnificent rendition of the Great Western's coat of arms and originates from the company's main goods offices on Bishopsbridge Road, adjacent to Paddington Station. It was laid by Italian craftsmen just before completion of the building in 1906. It was a modern steel frame structure they built, which provided large areas of open space essential for keeping records of all the goods customers account and accommodating the 300 staff employed there. The building was equipped with the latest heating and ventilation system, lifts, and even incorporated a reprographic area on the roof for producing sun prints. 80 years later, in 1986, in a moment of insanity, some trustees of the newly formed Great Western Trust persuaded the demolition contractors to allow them to save the mosaic from destruction. Too large to remove in one piece, it had to be broken into several large sections to be transported to Didcot on a lorry. It remained in safe storage until the summer of 2024, when the Mosaic Restoration Company of Daventry undertook its restoration. You can see here what an extraordinary job they have done. And we are very proud that in January last, Paul Atterbury came to Didcot to perform the unveiling. I think you will agree that it is a sight to behold. To accompany this, we have invested in an interactive touchscreen digital kiosk, which gives our visitors, young and old, a more in-depth view of the mosaic's history, as well as the vital role that the railways played in the conveyance of the nation's goods. Here we are in the reading room, where my fellow trustees are just a blur, such is their industry. Our wonderful electricians recently replaced our outdated fluorescent lights with modern LEDs, reducing our consumption by more than 70%. Our poster collection continues to grow, with the addition of this fine item dating from the 1950s and promoting the attractions of the beautiful city of Bath. Conservation of our road vehicle collection continues, and the display this year has been enhanced by the arrival of Angus, who serves to show just why our prize bull float is of such massive construction. Our recent acquisition of a second Thornycroft lorry means that we now own an example in far more original condition, which will be restored using some items from our first vehicle. Whilst on the subject, I have to pay tribute to Phil Kelly, who died this year at the grand age of 96. Phil was the author of several authoritative books on GWR road vehicles. He was one of our trustees for many years and a very generous benefactor to the collection. The Trust continues to strive in its role of educating our visitors and the part played by the GWR in building the UK's industrial base. And to that end, we are seeking volunteers of mature years who are prepared to be museum stewards. The work is not arduous, and it is always rewarding to engage in conversation with people who are both interested and interesting. We learn from each other and end the day richer for that experience. If you're interested in taking on such a role, please contact us. There is no regular commitment. Whatever time you can spare would be welcome. Thank you for watching.